Hi, CAUFP family. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Conversations with CAUFP, Canadian Association of Urban Financial Professionals. Today, we are here with Elton John. He is a tech executive leading in TD Securities, and I had the privilege of meeting Elton at one of our CAUFP Youth Summits. So a few years ago, CAUFP had a youth summit where we gathered leaders in the industry to talk about what's innovative, what is transformational, so that the new up and coming graduate students have a line of sight to where they could land. What does an entry level position look like in our corporate Canada, especially in the financial institutions? So welcome, Elton. Thank you for joining us today. To kind of just go right into it, you've been in the tech space now for quite a long time, and just top of mind, could you just give us a little bit of the lay of the land? What have you seen? What have you observed beyond the buzzwords of transformational, innovative, things people are scared about with changes that are coming with a different type of technology? What have you observed really over the last, 5 years, 6 years, last little bit? I know it's ever changing.
I know, yeah, it's ever changed. Wow. So when you talked about like how long I've been in the tech space a long time, I start counting backwards just to see how long, and it's been over 25 years, which I find amazing.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a space where at one point I didn't really embrace it.
Okay.
I didn't know like it was something for me. I didn't know it was something I wanted to do. But looking at the journey of where I started to where I am now, I mean, it's exciting. And especially, I know, like to go back to your question, the buzzwords, everyone is excited about AI, about machine learning. I think that's the thing now that's top of mind because it's affecting so many different parts of our lives, so many different parts of industry. So it's not just, it's not something that's contained, right? There is so many possibilities with it. But just looking generally, I think there's right now, just thinking about it today, I think there's a lot of energy, a lot of excitement in the tech community, especially because of this thing, this machine learning and AI, and all the possibilities, all the things it enables us to think and rethink. Things that we've been trying to solve for a long time that AI is now helping us solve in different industries, in healthcare, in finance, in banking. So I think right now, even going back 5 to 6 years, there is always this move towards making things simpler, making things easier, no matter where you are. And I think tech has always been that enabler for simplification, always that enabler to make things go faster. And, and social media being one of those things, also that connector, be it through our devices or cell phones or social media and how technologies help, evolve even the way we connect to each other. So yeah, I think given when I think about where we are right now, I think it's from a tech standpoint, I think people within the community is excited about the possibility and what it brings, what technology is going to do for us, not just this year, but going forward in the years to come. And it's not just what excites me. It's especially around AI. I feel like tech has it's no longer contained in North America. You're seeing so many things happen in other parts of the world, in parts of the world that you don't expect it. Like if you look at the continent of Africa and you see some of the things that they're doing there in the technology space, in the payment space, you get excited about it because they're doing it with not even with the level of resources and advancements we have here, but they're still making it work. So that creativity, tech has gotten to the point now where you're limited simply by your creativity. So I'm excited about where we are now, especially for that, because and with AI and ML, that it will 10x that even more,
Right.
more so. So yeah, this is how I'm thinking about it right now. And as a technologist, I'm excited
Yeah.
because I get to be part of that and be part of helping make those possibilities very real and helping my team at TD make those things even more real for our customers and our clients. So yeah, a lot of good times, a lot of exciting times here, for
Okay.
sure.
I guess you can see the excitement, right? I can
Yeah.
hear it in how you have kind of brought us through the journey. And 25 years, I would have never guessed it, but that's a true
I
technologist,
am
right?
25 years old. Yeah.
Started out as a baby.
So,
Yeah, but when we hear all of the technology advancements and what we want to be, where we want to be, where industries want to go, how do you combat that with also like the layman, right? Like so the community that is seeking to be a part of the the corporate world with technology and everything. You're hearing a lot of reskilling, upscaling, oversight that people are trying to do to make sure that they are a match for the industry. How do we kind of gear our constituents and prepare our communities so that you are not missing the opportunity, right? Like
yeah.
the excitement's there. I feel from even though we probably haven't talked about it over the last 8-9 months, there's been a kind of like a quiet slowdown because of us observing what's happening really down south a little bit. And the job market's a little bit different. The tech firms have really backed off from where they were, right? The giants, the Alphabet company, the Silicon Valleys and stuff. So then communities are also starting to worry about what some of these innovation and technology advancements could do for, entry level positions and or just the job market. Are you able to kind of walk us through from a leader's perspective, right? Like I think your perspective is always a little bit different from seeking of capabilities. Are there things that you can bridge for us in terms of what can our memberships, our constituents, what can they do to really prepare themselves, maybe even upscale, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that possible?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think I took part in a conversation earlier this week, and I think that question, framed differently, but came through also talking about talent and where talent, what kind of quality do you really look for in a talent for, in this where we are today? And the first thing I would say is when you think about AI, machine learning, as an example, I alluded to this in my earlier comment. What I appreciate about that is anyone, as long as you have access to some kind of compute, even your phone, you're limited by your creativity. So my sense is that thinking about where I started and wishing I had access to some of the tools and technology that folks who is my age when I started out when they started how old I was when I started out, if I had access that they had today, late high school, early university, the kind of technologies and tools they have access today, they are able to create in ways that you can build a company and create something that enhances the lives of individuals much better than some organizations are going to be able to. I truly believe that. Like there will be more, like AI and ML, I think will spark more industries, will spark more businesses, will spark more entrepreneurship. I have my sense is that it will do a lot of that for us. When it comes to talent and where we are today, some of the important qualities, and this is not just about AI or ML, but just thinking about how technology is evolving over the next few years going forward, how it has been evolving over the last 5, 10 years or so. Your ability to adapt, your ability to pivot is really important. So the phrase I used earlier this week was learning agility.
Okay.
And really, it's about learning how to learn. So your ability to be able to pivot when a new piece of technology is introduced, to learn that technology, to learn a new framework, to learn a new operating model, learn to move and adapt to a new operating model because technology is forcing us to do that. I think that ability to adapt, those kind of qualities are some of the qualities that really work, that leaders like myself look for in talent today. Um, you know, we've always looked at another important quality that we always look for is problem solving. What I will add to that is systems thinking. And what I mean by that, your ability, and this is where we start getting into more of like a product oriented type thinking. So system thinking is your ability to connect systems to data to customer experiences, not just heads down looking at code building, but being able to connect what you're building to reliable data to our customer and client experiences. That is really important today. You can't be too far removed from what the customer experiences, even as a developer, as an engineer. So being able to connect those dots is an important quality. That's really important today.
Yeah.
And another piece that I feel like leaders like myself will start looking at even more so today, and this is where that AI ML piece come into play today, is around ethics and trust. It's not enough to just think about your technical depth at this point. We need to understand, you need to have that security awareness. You need to have, you need to innovate with integrity.
Okay.
Because the technology and the things that we're doing today, it has an effect, has an impact on our customer experiences. It's one of the things, and even this is one of the reasons I appreciate how Canada is approaching generally AI and ML, is because there is such an important trust component to it and such an important ethics component to it to ensure that the technology does not overrun or overtake us, but we keep as much of who we are as humans at the core of any technology that we're building, any technology that we're going to be depending on. That's why the ethics and trust piece, I feel, is something that is going to be just as important as the technical depth.
So like the whole human in the loop design.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I think a couple of things that you touched on, which is the connectivity piece, right? So whether you are mid-season or new entry to the job force, one thing to be cognizant of or also to just pay extra attention to is just the ecosystem of things. I think very often, maybe in the past, or maybe we've been socialized a little bit to be specialists, right? To be really, really good at certain things, whether it be product, as you mentioned, or project delivery. But with the evolvement of technology and then the ability to connect things, it has surfaced this need where we can't forget what is the end impact, right? So if
Yeah.
you're talking about client experience, perhaps one of the things that we can think on for our constituents or Canadians at large is you have to think about the ecosystem of how cohesive everything is, right? So there may be the technology that is now enhancing and making things more efficient, better, but are we still keeping sort of like that benchmarking and or grounding in that? What are your end delivery to?
Yeah.
Like, is it what the client wants? Are
Yeah.
we staying true to what our overarching, purposes for, whatever the sector is,
Yeah.
right? So whether it be banking that is making a client's digital identity or financial identity more fluid, right? And while being secure, while being protected as you maneuver as a global citizen and or, throughout this geopolitical landscape, and then into other sectors of health, like are you able to access your information and get the best care and get the best sort of, recommendations, even with the advancements and everything. So perhaps do you have tips and or any advice on how you can recommend to some of our constituents? So something you mentioned earlier, which is the ability to learn, right? I think we all like to think of ourselves as learners, right? And inadvertently you're forced to, right? Like if you work for an institution, it's inevitable, right? Change is the one thing that's constant. I think it's what we hear all the time. So how do you make yourself more receptive? Are there things that we can do? Are there things that people can practice to be able to be more susceptible and open to change and or open to learning so that you can kind of move the dial faster?
Yeah, what I would say is don't wait for a special course or certification to be available. I know sometimes when new technologies arrive, like new things come into the market, it's like, okay, I'm gonna go get certified. This is available. I'm gonna spend this money to go get certified, and like I think, and this is where I get a little bit jealous of the new folks, the young people today, compared to when I started, is I look at the opportunities to learn today, be it on YouTube, be it the free learning courses being offered by the big tech companies, even through organizations like other industries out there that offer free courses through YouTube, so you can learn about different aspects of an organization, of an industry, like the possibilities and the different venues that's available to learn for free is amazing to me. So don't wait to have a particular amount of money to go and learn. Always be in a posture of learning, because it's a constant. Change is a constant. Learning should be too. So always be in a posture of learning. So as we started going down this AI path, I'll use this as an example for myself. And I love fantasy football. And so one of the things I'm really intrigued about agentic AI, obviously, like so many other technologists. And so I decided to build an agent just to see how it works. I wanted to understand a bit more how it works. So I built it, and I built an agent to do something on a topic that I really have fun with.
Okay.
And that's fantasy football. And fantasy football, there's so much data that sometimes you have to look at to try to do well, right, throughout the season and things like that. So I built an agent to help me build my team, track my players, make sure I'm doing drafting right, all of that. So I built it just for that. And with that, I kind of started learning a bit about how this capability helps, how it doesn't help, what works, what doesn't work. So again, I kind of looked at a couple of papers here and there. I watched some YouTube videos. I read some blogs, read through some training courses, follow some steps through like a chat GPT, and it worked. It helped me. Now, it did not help me all the ways I want and things like that. I'm still losing fantasy football. But
what? After this whole story, I was hoping you were going to come away with, I'm winning, I'm first line draft pick.
No, what that tells you is that AI does
it's
not.
Only as good as the
it's only as good as the data. Exactly. It's only as good as the data is being fed. It can't make, it can't predict the future.
Okay.
right? It does not predict the future because it's not good. It will tell you this guy's a great player, but that player getting injured
Yeah.
4 weeks into the season,
Right.
I mean, it had no idea, right? So yeah, and I think the ways to learn, and that for me was a great way for me to learn about
Right.
that capability, how this works, how this agent does things, and the things that are still broken, the things that are still fallible
Yeah.
about this technology. Like I mean, everyone is excited about it, excited about what it brings, but there is still faults. There are things that needs to be worked out to get it to the level that it needs to get to. So my encouragement to anyone, again, don't wait for the big to get a full-on certification, and always be in a posture of learning.
Yeah.
Think about, and when I talk about new ways of learning, it's like there is so many different avenues now you can take to learn something. So don't wait until this author that you like, who knows this stuff, writes a book for you to go and get that book and read it. Learn from others also. One thing I find, I will always say, there's so much I've learned over the years as a leader at TD and in other organizations I've worked at, and it's some of my colleagues that's sitting across from me, some of my team members. Some of the best things I've learned over my years is folks who are part of my team who does good work, and I've learned new coding techniques from things that I didn't learn when I was in school, things that I didn't learn in my early career. The way things are moving, the way we do things differently today compared to how we did it 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, like it is so different. So learn from each other, learn from your colleagues, learn from, and there's something I said earlier this week. One of the things that also helped me is I never stay within the parameters of my career to learn something new.
Right.
Like there are things that I learn outside of what I do today to grow and get better. And I think as AI continues to evolve, one thing that I find myself leaning more into is who I am as a person, who I am as a human, because I think EQ is going to be more crucial compared to you know just your general knowledge on any piece of tech, right? Leaning into more of who you are as a human becomes even more important to help you when it comes to dealing with things like artificial intelligence and machine learning going forward. That's my sense and thought about it.
No, actually, I think you touched on something that, so even within our other podcasts, we've consistently drawn on this theme of connectivity, belonging, and, while we are all individuals, how do you kind of find yourself in this greater mesh of the world type of thing, right? And exactly to what you said, the key differentiator here between artificial intelligence and the next best talent individually or whatever is your human factor, right? So it's key, probably vital for all of us to tap into the human factor. Like what is the deeper humanity? Like what makes us tick, right? Beyond the inevitable kind of like progression of career and growth and everything that's moving and will continues to move, right? The economy and everything, but what is probably more micro into the community and things. And I think one takeaway you were saying earlier about talent and what people can do, like how you posture yourself is to be proactive, right? Like be a seeker of information, of knowledge. Sometimes I think you as a technologist, and when I was around technologists, they love saying, you don't know what you don't know, right? And a good benefit of a technologist is if you don't know and you then proactively seek it out, you're in the position of knowing so much. I mean, still not knowing everything, but your breadth, your access, your draw, right? Like the same, you have one more database to work with, even as a human being, right? So I think one of the things that probably our constituents should be taking away and our listeners is, are you in a proactive engagement position, right? Like, are you actively kind of seeking out what do I want to learn, right? And then maybe having fun with it, right? Align the nuance of technology and or new capabilities with how can actually we just learned how can chat teach me about discount codes and or allow me access to things that perhaps I didn't know about. I mean, that's very fun, like fun based and basic, but still just leveraging technology, but maybe on a personal scale so that you're more invested, right? I would love to hear. So you had said you participated in a panel earlier this week, and there's much sort of like energy and excitement around technology and this new wave and things that have been moving. Are there things that you heard that were sort of new that kind of positions you for 2026 and what's upcoming, and with sort of the two sides of the coin, right? You can be in a position that is receptive of change and kind of be a proactive learner and be a learning agility agent, right? What are the things that may be coming down the pipeline through the Canadian sort of ether and all of that we can kind of prepare ourselves for? Have you heard any exciting conversations?
Yeah. So I think what I've seen, just again, just being a technologist and stepping back and just looking and seeing everything that's happening across Canada, what I appreciate is, and this is something as a technologist, and as a Canadian, I could be proud of, is Canada being a global leader in AI. I think that for me is amazing.
Okay.
When you think about the pan-Canadian AI strategy and what it means for society, what it means for the businesses and just our communities across Canada, I think that in itself, it's a good story.
Yeah.
And really appreciate seeing that. And then you have like, the nonprofit like Vector Institute here in Toronto, that's doing deep research on AI and ML. Proudly, TD was a founding sponsor of the
Yes.
Vector Institute. So I think it's just amazing through our through Layer 6 AI and the work that we do with the Vector Institute. I think that's amazing. And then you look across the rest of the country in Montreal with Mila and Edmonton with Ami, and just the work that's happening just in the tech sector in Canada. I think it's something that all Canadians really should be proud of. I mean, it's not a stretch to say we are a global leader in AI, and I think it bodes well for the global community. Is Canada is a huge driver in this, given the ethics and the trust factor that comes into play. And you also look at things like even in payments. I know CAUFP and the audience is always interested in the payment space, and you look at like Link's ISO 20022 and what that will do for our payments capabilities across the country. That things like that, real-time rails being rolled out. Like, I mean, when it comes to technology, again, in this country, I think as a technologist, everyone really, you have to be proud of what you're seeing. And then things that are not talked about as too much, if you're not nerding out like me too much, quantum computing.
Yeah.
We're playing a significant part in that too here with things like Xanadu and D-Wave. I mean, that's going to change the tech landscape even more, given that kind of compute that's going to allow AI and ML to shine even more than it is now. So I mean, I do really have to be you have to be excited about the possibilities. But I think more than anything else, I think when you have Canada being one of the key leaders globally in this space, we've always played a key role in sustainability, and I think that has to be a factor when it comes to any kind of technology today. Because you think about what technology means for the environment, etc., and you're already seeing some of the news stories as to what it takes to run the type of compute that we need for AI to really function the way it does across so many different industries, across homes, and across the world. And I think one thing that you do appreciate and that you like to see is, as Canada is at the forefront of this, I think sustainability, ethics, and trust is also a big factor in that. And I think you have to have that as part of any principle, any guideline, any framework that you're going to build out to allow technology to really be a part of and shine in any society. And so, so I'm again stepping back as a technologist and looking out. You have to be excited about it and be proud as a Canadian as to with everything that's happening and what's coming down the pipe and everything that they're working towards. I haven't even mentioned, open banking. So yeah, there is so much happening in this space to be excited about. So yeah, there will be no small, no, there will be no tiny amount. It will be like quite a bit for us to tackle over the years to make sure that we as Canadians get to take full advantage of it. And one thing you do appreciate too is we are not insular when we do research and we find new capabilities, we find new ways of doing things, we share it with the global community. So I think you should, if you're in another part of the world, you're excited that Canada is leading on this front and driving innovation in these spaces, because whatever we come up with through our research, we do tend to share with the global community. So
Canada.
which I do,
Yeah.
which I do like, which I do appreciate. So
No, I mean, it is exciting. I think
Yeah.
to hear it from you, to kind of see now, before, I would say 7 years ago, when all of the conversation started with open banking, real-time real, and then, I mean, AI has probably been existent, what they've been saying, 18 years, 15 years in the background,
Yeah,
right?
it's
So
been, yeah.
it's not a new thing.
It's
It's
not,
only
yeah.
chat that's a new thing that's kind of surfaced to the general public. But it's good to know that there is no shortage of that investment and that trajectory for the I would say, upcoming foreseeable future, so to speak, right? And with the government support and all of that. But one thing I kind of want to tackle, so we kind of talked about upscaling, and then also potentially maybe mid-level of how they can open up their capabilities and be more susceptible to new jobs and all of that. A lot of the younger, undergrads and the new graduates and all of our younger talent is looking at this and seeing what AI capabilities are doing and taking over sort of like your very mundane, basic entry-level jobs. Is there truth behind that? Like, what do you see the future of like younger talent? How do they fit into your corporate Canada or the professional landscape?
Yeah, I don't like so. I I remember someone from my team, my team came up and they were asking that question, and even at the conference earlier this week, asking similar question, but with a concern for themselves about what does it mean, like their jobs taken. And I think I think with AI, it's not new, right? Like AI has been around, but we've always, I think, from a technology standpoint, going back to even the early days that I started, we were always using technology to look for ways to be more efficient, right? That's generally what technology does. It tried to we tried to figure out ways to remove things that are manual, tedious, so that we can have our teams focus on more complex work, more complex tasks. And yes, the AI that we have today certainly can handle some of that complexity more than some of the type of algorithms that we've had to build in the past around to automate different things here and there. Um, what I said, my answer is always the same. Think about the things that you're doing. Think about all the different work that you do today. And one of the ways that you want to embrace AI is you the same way I, as a technologist, used to think about, okay, I've been asked to do this thing, and from it's taking me these several steps to do it. You know what? I'm gonna see if I can automate this. I'm gonna try to figure out a way if I can script this so I don't have to do these pieces here.
Okay.
I think that's the same approach that any young developer, any young engineer coming into this space now that's one way to embrace AI and its capabilities, embrace AI for what it can do, how it can help. And if anything, think about the ways that AI might say 10x you as a developer. What are some things that you are thinking about that you're trying to solve where a copilot, a chat GPT might be able to come in and help you solve this problem that you have? So in terms of the jobs, I think you look at, like, we still have a lot of, we just opened up our space to bring in new interns and co-ops,
Okay.
right? So it's not like we're suddenly saying, okay, we don't need interns or co-ops because we have AI.
Right.
So the jobs that we still want to see, we still invest in young people. And even as we talk about some of the things just now that Canada is doing, we think about what Canada is doing with Hack the North and things like that, something that we sponsor. Like, you think about all the different ways that we're trying to give young people access to learn, to carve out pathways into tech. It's because we know that some of our best ideas in technology, even with AI saturating across, the globe, the organizations, communities, our best ideas still come from people,
Yeah.
right? So that's why we do need people at varying, diverse people, different backgrounds, different ages. We still need people coming in and helping us to think through problems differently than we have been one way or the other. The best type of innovation that we will see, it's not going to be because AI spit it out necessarily. It's going to be because we have folks from all different walks of life coming together and thinking through problems with AI helping us to flesh out maybe some of those problems, as opposed to just people getting tossed aside or pushed aside and saying, we don't need you anymore. We have we have AI. No, we do need people. That brain that you have is still very important
Right.
for the things that we need to do. We still need you to think through things and help us solve for things today
Right.
that we're solving for. So yeah, it's very important. Like, these same young people are customers that walk into the branches and using the apps on the phone.
Right.
They're seeing these problems and thinking of ways to solve for some of these problems that they're joining us. We're hiring them to help us solve for some of these, right? So, so I think people will always be needed. AI is going to help us certainly do some things better,
Yeah.
improve some of the ways that we work. It may impact some of the ways that we do things. But all in all, we look at it. It's a beneficial piece of tech, like other technologies that we've seen in the past, albeit much more advanced than what we've seen before. But it's going to help us get there with the people that we have in the banks now and people that we're hiring to help us even move fast and solve some of the problems that we have today to help our customer experiences be better. I don't think that will change for a very long time.
I hear the same message, like what you had said earlier, even with mid-level about, stay curious, right? And what does that mean? Meaning upskill yourself, right? Like seek out the information that may also not be directly from your area of specialty, right? You never know how information can translate, especially if the future is unknown, right? Like you want the possibility of thinking through things differently that perhaps traditional, engineers and or traditional product owners wouldn't approach something that a medtech person might look to solve, right? So the same message that we would have for whether you're mid-season and or new to the job world and the job market is stay informed, right? Stay informed, stay involved. Proactively engage yourself with what's available, what's out there, the community, right? Like if you're curious about being involved in technology, these hackathons and these events are happening. That doesn't take for you to be an employee to participate, right? Like if you have an idea, there are areas you just have to put yourself in the opportunity. So be a part of the community. Know what makes you different, I think, is something that is probably a message that we should hold, steady for the young generation today, that if you know what sets you apart and if you know you to the core of your humanities and your humanness, it will help to improve and just be partner with the new advancements and the technology and industries are not changing that fast where we're doing away with human involvement that quickly, right? So everywhere in conferences you would hear human in the loop design. So that means that human factor is still ever needed.
Yeah.
So I mean, if anybody was ever feeling unsure, insecure about the job market, I think, just trying to proactively engage yourself, being informed, knowing what's out there, how technology is changing, also leveraging your own critical thinking to think about the problems that people may not be thinking of, right? That will make you a differentiating person or individual that potentially could solve things that people didn't think of because we're always so tunnel vision in some things, right? So I love that. I love your enthusiasm about what's to come, because I think quite often for the last little bit we've been quite doomy about, oh no, technology is gonna take over the world and we're all gonna, all of this. So I appreciate the outlook in the Canadian tech space and the landscape of we're doing more, we're so involved, we're part of the global narrative, and as members, Canadian citizens and young people, just be a part of the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Plug yourselves in, get to know, and all of that. So thank you. Thanks, Elton, for giving us all of that insight. And I hope that kind of satisfies everybody's, worries about what's to come. And thanks, CAUFP, and tune in to the next conversation. Thanks.